What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Blitz Sports Media. My name is Ryan Linkletter. I am here with the fantasy football guru, Danny Carpenter. We are talking ball today. We are talking about our favorite must-start players of the week. Danny, 2 games in, how are you feeling right now?
I have Xavier Worthy on too many teams right now, so yeah, a little worried about that.
Yeah, no,
Still nothing on
that
what the injury
it's
is yet either. That's the scary part.
that's the thing is the Chiefs love every year is their Hall of Fame players love taking out other players.
Yeah,
Patrick Mahomes took out Rasheed last year. Travis Kelsey taking out Xavier Worthy this year. So it's definitely been a very interesting start to the past few years for the Chiefs, for
yeah,
sure. And I feel really bad for everybody in those Xavier Worthy shares because I have a lot of them too. So definitely a little bit concerning there. But I mean, good football all around. Definitely
yeah,
two entertaining games for sure. Justin Herbert looks like he's starting his MVP campaign. It looks like,
yeah.
and
He could be a
Dak
league winner.
Prescott's back. What are you saying?
He could be a league winner because he's getting
He
drafted
could.
as late as he was.
He really could if their
Hmm.
passing efficiency is good. I mean, he even ran the ball well,
Yeah,
which is nice to see for sure. We'll get to some early chats right in here. Is Allen Robinson a name to be on the lookout for? Uh, I'm not sure if Allen Robinson, when he finds his way back onto he might. I know he was tweeting at the Chiefs last night saying, "Come pick me up." Chiefs have no wide receivers right now
no,
available, so not the most unrealistic thing. But him to be fantasy viable right now, I'm not necessarily sure I'm going to buy into that at the moment. So as
no.
far as Allen Robinson goes, I'm probably avoiding that at the moment. Also, need to know if it's time to move on from Brian Robinson Jr. B Rob's an interesting one for sure.
Yeah.
Danny, why don't you give your thoughts on B Rob?
Uh, with CMC coming down with his calf injury issues again too. That's kind of scary because that's what it was last year. I mean, he's going to be the backup. I mean, I know they got Grindos there as well, so how they split the carries will probably be the thing. It's probably one of those things that's kind of a wait and see situation where if McCaffrey plays, that they're probably not going to see very much action. He's not really worth a stash other than being that day a handcuff for McCaffrey. But other than that, if McCaffrey doesn't play, we'll have to kind of wait and see how they're going to play out the carries in that offense.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see in terms of kind of how they work it. I know McCaffrey's practice today is going to be a massive indicator on if he's going to go or not. Obviously, was a DNP yesterday, so I'm not sure if he's going to go this week in general. But I think Brian Robinson Jr. is a guy you just hold at this point. I mean,
Yeah,
we're like I think at best you're probably going to get a bench player for him, whether that's like a wide receiver 4, a running back 3. Like that's basically your trade market for him. If you believe that Christian McCaffrey is going to miss time, he's probably going to be an RB2, right?
yeah,
So unless somebody is willing to trade you a starter for him, which is probably unlikely at this point, I think you hold on to Brian Robinson Jr. and see, hey, how much upside does he really have in this 49ers system, which is exciting. Andrew here, should I start the Rams or the Patriots defense this week? Danny, I'll start with you. I think I know which side I'm going with.
yeah. I'm going to go with the Rams here myself. I mean, they're a young upcoming team. I mean, Houston still got some issues along the line. They're starting Nick Chubb, who doesn't have the burst like he used to. The Patriots, I know the Raiders always struggle when they go east and play against any of the teams in the East. So it could be, but you got new coach there, and don't know how they're going to be able to handle their defensive side of the ball for the Patriots. But I would go with the Rams. I mean, going against that Houston offensive line, I'd be licking my chops if I was a defensive lineman going after CJ Stroud.
Yeah, I think it's listen, I think it's the Rams, and I don't think it's close right now. I think, the Patriots, I love what they did on the defensive side of the ball and added stuff. But I think that, it's a little bit concerning considering the fact that we don't know what we're going to get yet out of this
Yeah,
unit. In week one, you want a little bit of certainty. The Rams had an elite pass rush win rate last year. They improved their linebacking corps heading into this year as well. On the Texans side of things, we know what their offensive line looks like. It's not going to be a crazy unit. You have a good pass rush win rate versus a weak offensive line. You trust the sacks there. I think
yeah.
you ride with the Rams this week. They're one of my favorite streamers of the week. Appreciate you, Andrew. Kyle Smith popping in the chat. Chiefs, what happened? Secondary happened. I just got done with my film breakdown on that game, Danny. You want to know what the highest graded Chiefs player in their secondary was?
Who
It was
was there?
Brian
Anybody?
Cook. Brian Cook at 60.
Oh my
Let me throw this up.
gosh!
I actually have this graphic right here ready to go from this video. Let me Here it is. Let's get this up here. These are the grades from last night
Oh
for the
my
Chiefs
goodness.
secondary. This is insane.
Yes, it is.
61.9 Brian Cook, 59.6 Trent McDuffie, 53.9 Jamari Connor, 46.1 Jalen Watson, 30.1 Jaden Hicks. I mean, this is a all-time bad secondary performance.
I felt like I was watching the Super Bowl again, the way they played last night. It was very eerily similar. It was, is they couldn't stop him. It was crazy how Herbert could do whatever he wanted really back there. He had time
Oh
to
no,
throw and find guys all the time.
when you watch the film breakdown too of I think I have 9 plays total in there. It's basically you have a wall around Justin Herbert with no pressure, and there's just one guy unguarded in the key situation.
Wow.
It's pretty bad. And you know what? Like the offense started pretty slow in the game, and you know they didn't look good the first few drives, but I was actually kind of impressed with the second half. Like the second half, I was like, okay, here we go. They're starting to make this a game. You know, Mahomes is just over my dead body with some crazy throws, and they were getting back into it. And I actually posted a tweet about this today, kind of their outlook long term. I think Patrick Mahomes is still going to be a starter in fantasy.
Yes,
If
I
the
think so,
defense
too.
looks like they did yesterday, he's going to have to throw the ball 40 times a
Yeah.
game. He's going to have to run the ball because they don't have wide receivers, right? He's going to be nice with it in fantasy. So I'm a little into it. I mean, I don't know. Hollywood Brown, everybody's going to be hot on him on the waiver wire this week.
It's
He
still
didn't
Hollywood
look
Brown.
impressive. He looks slow, actually.
Yeah.
What were your
But the
thoughts
thing is
on
that
him?
the Chargers kind of played a little bit more. Once they didn't have Xavier Worthy to worry about, like they kind of played a zone a little bit more. So on the broken play when Kelsey scored his touchdown on, they were basically, well, he's blocking, so we're just going to play the zone here, and just got behind the zone and took it in. So I think teams are probably going to, what they have done in the past is play too deep high on them and let them dink and dunk underneath. And that's how you kind of slow down the Chiefs. I mean, they've kind of proved that the last few years, and it looked like the same thing again last night.
Yeah, and then the rough start for them definitely. I mean, being down 10-0, the offense didn't perform well. And I don't think the offense lost them the game necessarily, but if they started off how they played in the second half, they probably walk away with a win, even with how the defense played. So interesting way that game went last night. Debo, year outlook. Danny, I'll start with you on this one.
With Scary Terry coming back, that kind of puts him up in limbo. I know there've been a lot of reports that him and Daniels were clicking in during training camp and stuff, but you don't see that unless you're actually at the camp and watching the scrimmages before the preseason game. So who knows what's going to happen on that? I'm sure they're probably going to be using him for some jet sweeps and stuff like that, because as of right now, you got Ja'Cory Koski Merritt, who's their number 4 running back. So what's that mean when it comes to all that? Is Debo more involved in the offense, or is it just coach speak basically with a depth chart thing? So who knows what they're going to do. So if he gets more touches with the ball in the running game, I think that helps. I mean, you're going to have him, you're going to have Jaden along the goal line. It's going to be interesting how they can stop teams when they get down inside the 10-yard line.
Yeah, I think you kind of mentioned that goal line work, and I think that's what you have to get excited about as Debo, progresses this year. I don't think he's never been an elite true separator at the receiver position. And obviously now that he's older, it's not going to get much better, right? He's an underneath type player, which is good because it's opposite of what Terry McLaurin does. I think that part benefits him, but he's not going to separate on a consistent basis. So it makes him a risky option for fantasy football purposes. But you also have to think about it like this, the goal line work, right? They trade Brian Robinson Jr. You have a flux in the backfield. Debo Samuel could genuinely be the short yardage back for the Commanders this year and have a ton of volume around the goal line. Imagine them running a read option with Jaden Daniels and Debo on the goal line. I mean, that's a package that I think we're going to see. I mean, it's going to be scary too, for sure. But I think that Debo, he's a wide receiver 4. Like, I don't like him this year a lot. I think he'll have his weeks, and I think he'll have weeks where he really frustrates you. He's more of a plug and play type option depending on the matchup. So definitely a guy that, you kind of watch out for, see what happens with him, and then, go from there. So definitely very intriguing.
And with Debo too, I think Debo actually hurts upside a little bit too. I mean, he was a key part of their playoff run last year and stuff. But with Debo not being the guy with the speed anymore, with a little bit of age on him and stuff, I think that kind of hurts a little bit more than really helping Debo on that part.
Yeah, and I actually have Ertz as one of my sit candidates this week. Let me see if I can share my screen here of my start and sit list for you guys. Taking a look at this thing right now. We'll remove you. We'll let me add that in there. All right. taking a look at this list right here, quarterbacks that I absolutely love this week: Trevor Lawrence, Kyler Murray, and Drake May. Danny, talk to me about one of these three guys and why you like them.
That's Trevor Lawrence for me. I mean, I love him in DFS this week. I and then the thing is, though, he played well last year before he injured his shoulder, which helped the outlook coming into this season, why he still has a starting job and stuff like that. But you have Brian Thomas Jr., one of the elite receivers by the end of the season last year. They draft Travis Hunter. They still have Brenton Strange, who's a quality tight end right there too. But they're playing against the Carolina defense. They didn't do anything to improve themselves. They were awful last year against quarterbacks and wide receivers won. So this game should be set up where he could push 300 yards, no problem, 2 or 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I think I absolutely love Trevor Lawrence's matchup. I mean, facing Carolina, they were the worst against quarterbacks last year. I think, with it, you have to be excited about the fact that you add Travis Hunter next to BTJ and what that duo could potentially do together. I think that part's very intriguing. My biggest concern is he going to do enough in the passing game, to keep him fantasy viable. And I think he will, just because he doesn't really have that rushing upside. I'm excited about the Liam Cohen pairing. Biggest risk is we haven't seen it yet, but I like the matchup, and considering the fact that he's typically a waiver guy in a lot of leagues, pick him up, start him over some other guys that have tougher matchups. Kyler Murray against the Saints. I mean, this Saints team is really rough. I mean, I think that they're going to be a team that sells a lot of their veterans potentially at the deadline, so we'll see what happens there. But Kyler Murray is dominant on the ground. We know how good he is. 4 of the last 6 rushing quarterbacks against the Saints have top 59 yards. That's a good sign for his floor this week. And Kyler's a guy that struggles with his floor on a weekly basis. And then you have Drake May facing a Raiders secondary that absolutely stinks heading into the year. I think May is going to be in for a really solid debut, especially with guys like Travion Henderson, Stephon Diggs mixed in there now. Should be a really solid option for the Patriots this week. All right, let's head into the quarterbacks to sit this week. Danny, which one of these guys stands out to you?
Let's see here. Let me put the screen up a little bit better here. I'd probably say Stroud, just the fact that, any of them actually. I just have a bad feeling for Stroud this week just because the Rams are an up-and-coming defense, and that offensive line's not the best. Somebody asked me the other day, they asked 3 people to ask, and said, well, I'm already starting Nico. And I said, I probably wouldn't start Nico this week, just the fact that defense is played so well down the stretch last year that you're going to struggle when you have an offensive line that's not be able to protect the quarterback or even run the ball. I mean, but the other two, I could see both of them. Fields having a bad day because they're going against the Steelers defense, and Steelers defense is healthy right now with all the older guys. And Goff, I have a bad feeling that this game may not be the fireworks offensively we may see that everybody's expecting, because I think that over-under is right around 48, somewhere around there. I don't know if they'll reach it that tomorrow, so I don't know if Goff can really produce numbers that would be a starter. So sit's a perfect place to put him right now.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting about Stroud and Goff is they don't have that rushing upside. So let's say their passing offense falters just a little bit, they're in for the bust category. And Jared Goff's a guy that's really struggled over his past few years in Green Bay. Packers ranked 6th against quarterbacks last year. I know a lot of people are really high on Jared Goff based on his production over the last few years, but I think Goff is a fade for me this week. And obviously I'm not going to be perfect on this list, and they could just go ballistic, but Jared Goff has everything's telling me, it's a little bit hesitant trying to put him in my lineup. CJ Stroud, I think that one's clear for a lot of people. No offensive line consistency there. I do think Nico will be fine. I think he's more of a bust-proof type of player, but Stroud is never going to be bust-proof. I mean, this guy has no rushing upside. The offensive line stinks. I mean, it's going to be a rough showing from CJ Stroud, and I think he's going to struggle again this year. Justin Fields, the interesting one. I've been pounding the drum for Justin Fields all season long, and to have him in the sit category week 1 is crazy. I think Steelers are a brutal matchup. I mean, they were really good against rushing quarterbacks, and they do a great job against Lamar Jackson. Adding the fact that Elijah Vera Tucker goes down with an injury, I think Fields is in for a rough matchup against his former team. Here we go, running back time here. Danny, which of these guys stand out to you and why?
Probably Travion. I mean, he showed flashes during the preseason already what he can do for this team. And if Rhamondre fumbles the ball, he's going to be on the bench. I mean, I know it's a new coaching staff, but you just can't fumble in the NFL and expect to keep your starting job. But Travion, he comes from Ohio State. They won the national championship. He's a proven winner already, and I can't see why he can't succeed in the NFL level too with the explosiveness that he has.
Yeah, and I think TreVeyon Henderson's a top 5 playmaker in the NFL. He hasn't even played a snap yet. Genuinely top 5 playmaker in the NFL. This guy's an absolute superstar in the making. And you mentioned it, Rhamondre Stevenson struggled with fumbles last year. I think Stevenson's going to play a big-time role for this Patriots team, but for how long, right?
Exactly.
How long can he hold up and, actually be like better than TreVeyon Henderson long term? I'm not sure. The Raiders are a great matchup for him as Las Vegas struggled against the run last year. But DeAndre Swift, man, I mean, he's on this list, and I absolutely just don't like him at all. I tried to hype him up a little bit. I mentioned that he's got 1,300 scrimmage yards total over the last 2 years, like blah, blah, blah. But it's more the fact that Roschon Johnson and Kyle Monaghan are both going to miss this game most likely or play limited snaps. And we saw Swift play 20 of 21 snaps against the Chiefs when they played their starters against them. So I think Swift is in for a massive workload. And this Vikings defense is going to struggle against the run a little bit more than they did last year with their 2 nose tackle additions. And then Tony Pollard, everybody's scared of the Denver defense. And yes, they're good against the run, but they allowed the 9th most receiving yards to running backs last year. Pollard has averaged over 21 touches and 15 PPR points when Tajay Spears has missed time. So I think Pollard, got to have him in your lineup. He's a player that you need to put in there. Running backs to sit. Breece Hall, Ja'Cory Krosky, Merritt, Nick Chubb. We've already talked about 2 of these guys.
Exactly.
Talk to me about Breece Hall, why we should be sitting him.
What are they going to do? They're going to run all 3 running backs. I mean, they've been preaching that all preseason too. So, and he hasn't looked the best. I mean, Breeden Allen's actually played better than he did during the preseason. So, what are they going to do with it? It's going to be 1A, 1B, and you don't really need that for a guy that's getting drafted in probably in the first 5 or 6 rounds. You need a production where he's getting 15 to 20 touches, and he may not get that. And they're playing against the Steelers defense too. Who, if they Steelers get a lead, they're just going to bring pressure, and the Jets want to throw the ball.
Yeah, and I think Breece Hall. It's not more of a talent thing for me. It's more of just a situation. Jets don't like him. They're going towards a committee. Steelers have been really good against running backs, last year and the past few seasons. They're missing their starting guard. Why would I start him this week? Nothing is telling me that anything's going in Breece Hall's direction right now. I do like the fact that Justin Fields basically is top 5 in check down rate in the NFL. That helps him a lot. But nothing else is telling me that Breece Hall should be a starter this week in week 1. Bill and Nick Chubb, both high upside sleepers heading into the year, but Bill's not going to play much. Nick Chubb is going to be in a brutal matchup behind a tough offensive line. So both those guys I'm avoiding. Wide receivers here, Emeka Egbuka, Jerry Jeudy, Jameson Williams. What do you like about this grouping?
It's Egbuka. I mean, there's nobody else to throw the ball besides him and Chris Evans and Cade Otton, if Cade Otton's even healthy to play. So I think he's going to get a lot of targets. He's going to take the role that Chris Godwin's had, and Godwin's has excelled against other teams in the NFC South. So I can't see why he can't step into this role and do exactly what he did last year. Jeudy, I mean, the Bengals defense is bad. So Jeudy should have a field day. And Jameson, he's coming off a 1,000-yard season. And actually, he shows up well on my spreadsheet this week. I haven't put him in a lineup yet because I've only done a couple yet because I'm waiting for more of the ownership numbers, but I'm going to pop him in a lineup somewhere just to be that sneaky one-off piece in DFS that could win you a big tournament. But fantasy-wise, start him. I mean, you got to expect their offense is still going to be able to move the ball some, even with Ben Johnson leaving to the Bears. So they still have talent. This is the idea. What are they going to do this first game?
Yeah, and I think, Jameson Williams against Green Bay secondary that, really struggled. I mentioned Keyshawn Nixon and Nate Hobbs. Both players had over a 97 passer rating allowed in coverage last year. That's going to benefit Jameson Williams down the field. Jerry Jeudy, I mean, the Bengals defense has been absolutely abysmal over the past few years. I know he struggled against Cincinnati last year, but having Joe Flacco at quarterback is going to help him. He was second in the NFL in yards per game when Deshaun Watson wasn't his quarterback. And then Emeka Egbuka, maybe the most hyped rookie at the receiver position, steps in week 1 with a massive role against the Falcons. who allowed the most fantasy points to receivers last year. So I think he's a guy you have to put in your starting lineup just because
Yes.
Emeka Egbuka is going to cash in for us this week. Going to be very interesting. Paul, right away with the Emeka Egbuka. Start Emeka Egbuka or Matthew Golden. I'm going to Emeka in this
Mecca.
situation. I
Yeah.
think, based on the matchups, I think Detroit has a little bit better of a defense compared to what Atlanta has showed in the past, and Atlanta's been worse than the NFL over that stretch. I think Matthew Golden, I like him long term, but
Mhm.
it's a mecca this week for sure. You agree with that?
I agree with that as well. We've seen what he can do already. He's caught a touchdown in the preseason. With Golden, I like him. I have him in a couple teams. It's kind of a wait and see what they're going to do with him because they still have guys. I mean, Jaden Reed may not play. Then Dobbs they still have there, and they still have. I'm trying to think who else. The Wicks. I'm trying to think. That's the only other receivers I can really remember from the Packers. So he's going to get his chances. I mean, they drafted him for a reason in the first round, so he's going to get chances. But how early in the season? That's a wait and see approach for me.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be interesting to see kind of what we get from Golden to start. I think he'll be in for a majority of plays. I think he's going to lead their wide receivers in snaps. Fantasy production, we'll see what happens, but I
Yeah.
think long term he's a good play. Let's get into the wide receivers that to sit this week. Calvin Ridley, Chris Olave, Cooper Kupp. What stands out to you about this list?
Calvin Ridley. I mean, that one's a given. You're going against the Denver defense. They shut down outside wide receivers, and that's why Ridley plays. I mean, and you got a rookie quarterback starting. Rookie quarterbacks against a good defense doesn't spell a great day for your number one receiver.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Pat Surtain absolutely is a
Yeah.
blanket right now. He only allowed over 54 yards once last year to a receiver he shadowed. Calvin Ridley is basically the only viable target right now for Tennessee, with a lot of veterans there, some rookies that are unproven. I think that they'll probably even shadow him more with a safety over the top of Calvin Ridley with Pat Surtain over there, and they will be just fine. I think Cam Ward, week one matchup against the Broncos, too. I mean, that's brutal as a rookie to go
Yes.
against this Broncos defense as a first game in the NFL. So
In Denver as well.
yeah, I'm fading Calvin Ridley this week. I think he's a guy you have to consider sitting. And then Chris Olave, I think it's more of a Spencer Rattler situation. The
Mhm.
Cardinals last year were really good down the stretch against receivers. They added Will Johnson, but Spencer Rattler had averaged 6 yards per air attempt last season, more interceptions than touchdowns. It's a situation thing. Chris Olave, pretty good player throughout his career, but I mean the situation's brutal. And then Cooper Kupp. This
Mhm.
week, there's not like a lot of receivers that I hate, but I
Mhm.
think Cooper Kupp's a guy that we still sit because of the fact that I don't know what I'm going to get out of Cooper Kupp. The way he
Exactly.
struggled with, the situation last year where he, declined in separation rate, its yards per route run significantly decreased as well. I think Cooper Kupp, his first game in Seattle, I want to see what he looks like on the outside. JSN is going to be their primary slot guy. I want to see what Sam Darnold looks like as well. I think it's just safer to avoid him in your starting lineups right now. Do you agree with that?
I agree with that as well. Yes.
Yeah. All right. So Paul's got another question for us. Would you go Golden over Pearsall? I'll let you answer this one first.
Jennings coming back kind of puts the brakes on Pearsall for me, but I probably still go with Pearsall. He's practiced. Jennings hasn't practiced. I mean, he's practiced this week and stuff, but he's missed most of training camp. So how good a shape is he going to be and how many plays is he going to play? Pearsall's going to be their number one wide receiver, I think, in this game. I think he's a great play.
Yeah, I think this one's a really good toss-up for me. I like both these players. They're right around each other in my rankings. I'm going to lean Pearsall, and, Juwan Jennings, like you mentioned, been out majority of the preseason, just easing his way back in. I think Pearsall is going to have a significant target share in week one, and I think the slot's a better matchup for Pearsall compared to the perimeter receivers against the Seahawks defense. And like I mentioned with Golden, I think I know that he's going to play a majority of snaps. His usage, it's still in question mark. I think I feel more comfortable with Pearsall considering his matchup. Jelly of the month here. Would you drop either Braylon Allen or Ollie Gordon in half PPR to pick up Quinshon Judkins, who just signed? League has annoying running back limits. Danny, this is a tough
Oh my
question.
gosh, yeah.
Oh man. I think I'm gonna lean Ollie Gordon in this situation,
I
which
was
is
probably leaning the same thing too. Yeah.
yeah. You have to go get Judkins, and obviously, you man, I think with Ollie Gordon, the fact that Uh, he's the RB2. Like, and with
Yeah.
Braylon Allen, he's gonna get touches in New York. And if Brees Hall gets traded, he automatically, especially in any format lower than PPR, is a very viable starter for
Yeah.
a lot of teams. So I think Ollie Gordon, despite the hype, despite him being a high upside sleeper, I think you put him on waivers. You have to go get Judkins now, who is basically going to be a starting running back once he gets up to speed
Yep.
alongside Dylan Sampson. Do you 100% agree with that?
I agree with that wholly.
Yeah, I think it. Man, that's tough though. It
That
really
was a
is.
tough one. Yes, it was.
Yeah, no, listen, your league mates, they're in a bad spot because you are absolutely cooking with your bench right now, being able to get those guys. And I can't believe Judkins was sitting on waivers too.
That's crazy.
That is definitely very good for helping to build the squad for sure. Let's get into our tight ends on this list here. Tyler Warren, David Njoku, Hunter Henry. What do you like here?
Njoku and Henry, I'm playing them both in my DFS, and I would start them in a heartbeat this week. Tyler Warren, I like him because the upside they have with Daniel Jones quarterbacking now, you don't have to worry about Richardson being able to throw a 6'7" tight end and throwing it 10 feet over his head. I mean, Daniel Jones is a little more polished on that part of it, but I like Njoku. He's last 4 games against the Bengals, he's averaged almost 7 catches a game, over 50 yards, and a half a touchdown. So that rounds out to about 15 points for fantasy. And he's actually averaged a little bit more than that the last 4 games he's played himself, too. So I think his situation is very good. Hunter Henry, Drake May loves him in the red zone. And people kind of overlook that part of it. Yeah, he may not get the targets, probably like the receivers like Pop Douglas or Booty or even Diggs does, but he's the guy that I think Drake May kind of has confidence in the red zone, and he's going to get these targets in there no matter what.
Listen, I think all 3 of these guys are just got to have them in your starting lineups this week, and they're all different tiers. Obviously, Warren and Njoku kind of drafted around each other, but Hunter Henry is more of a guy that could be on waivers. You plug and play him in your lineup. Tyler Warren, I absolutely love his long-term outlook, right? He was top 3 among tight ends in, yards per route run, tackles broken, and yards after the catch. All good traits for him. He's going to have goal line packages as well. We saw his utilization like that in college. Miami's defense got absolutely cooked by tight ends last year. It's going to be interesting to see how this Colts offense works under Daniel Jones, but I know for sure that Tyler Warren is going to be a hefty involved in this game plan. David Njoku, basically the best tight end we've ever seen with Joe Flacco. 18.2 fantasy points per game is crazy work. Then you also get the fact that, you're playing the Bengals, who were absolutely brutal against tight ends last year.
They are.
David Njoku is a gotta have him in your lineup starter. And then Hunter Henry, a guy who was Drake May's favorite target when he took over as a starter, and May combined for a 32% target share to the tight end position last year alone. Tight ends are his favorite. He's going to go to Hunter Henry. And why not go to Hunter Henry against the Raiders, who were really, really bad against tight ends last year? I think it's going to be an absolute home run with all 3 of these guys.
Yeah.
Jelly of the month, appreciate you for subscribing and liking. Bo Nix or Trevor Lawrence 4-point passing touchdown. I'm still going to lean Bo Nix over Trevor Lawrence. I love Lawrence's matchup, but I think Bo Nix is just in a better situation in terms of rushing volume, good matchup, and I'm excited to see what this Denver passing game can do with an increased rushing game alongside with it. Do you agree with that?
I would lean probably Trevor. It's not much of a difference, but yeah. But I mean, Bo Nix is a top 6 guy on my spreadsheet this week, so he's a guy that you need to look at possibly starting. But I think just matchup wise, I think I would go with Trevor this week, and I love Bo Nix. So me saying that, it's a hard pill to swallow right now saying that. But it's the matchup. Carolina's defense is just bad.
It is really bad. Yeah, and then listen, now you got 2 different opinions. I love Lawrence, but I just don't know if I could start him over a guy that I have within my top 6 quarterbacks this week, even if I love the matchup. Let's get into tight ends to sit here. Evan Ingram, Bo Nix's teammate, Colston Loveland, and Zach Ertz. Danny, what are we thinking about this grouping?
I do not agree. I mean, I agree with it perfectly because Ertz, you don't know what's going to happen, especially with Debo there, like we talked about earlier, where he may be able to take away some of the underneath stuff that he thrived on during the playoffs last year. Loveland, you still got Kmet there. You don't know how involved he's going to be being a rookie, playing against a division foe, so who knows on that part. Evan Ingram, new team. Titans are actually decent against tight ends last year, so that's a area that he may not have a great game against them because of their talent there. But I think if the Broncos get a lead, Evan is going to be a blocker by the end of the game. So it's one of those things where the chances of him having a breakout game or a huge game for fantasy is just not on the table.
Yeah, and listen, the tight ends, despite their struggles last year, were really good against the position. Second lowest points per game to them allowed, and I think Evan Ingram's a guy that in a matchup that could be a multiple score game, blowout win. It's just a guy that I don't see getting enough volume to be viable, and he struggled against the Titans last year as well. Can't trust him. Colston Lovin, not trusting him for a different reason. It's because I'm not sure what the snaps are going to play out like. It's very unsure what the rotation between him and Cole Kmet will be in week one. The Bears have plenty of weapons to go out and target this week. So I think with Colston Lovin, it's a wait and see situation. I know a lot of people are excited about his upside. I'm excited about him as a long-term option for the Bears, but this week alone, I don't know how much I can trust him in my starting lineups. And then it's Zach Ertz after that. Ertz, listen, you mentioned it earlier. I think that Debo kind of takes away some of that underneath volume that he got last year, and he was pretty good last year. The Giants, similar to the Titans, weren't very good in general, but were pretty solid against tight ends. Fourth fewest receiving yards and lowest. I can't even read that right now. I'm gonna have to turn my head. But third fewest schedule adjusted fantasy points right now. But yeah, I think as far as the matchup goes and the volume goes for Ertz, I'm not sure if it's going to be enough for him to be a viable option this week in fantasy football. So it's a guy that I'm fading, and we got two veterans and a rookie, so it's not like we're picking favorites based on age here. Heading down to the defenses, we already answered one of these two. Starting and sitting defenses, what do you like about this grouping?
It's matchup. I mean, the for Arizona, New Orleans is not the NFL quality team as of right now on paper and stuff like that. So they should be able to excel. They're a 6-point favorite going on the road, and they played better as the season went on last year. That's the reason why they had a chance late in the season for pushing for one of the last playoff spots because the defense was playing so well. The Rams are the Rams. So they're highly improved, young team, great pass rush, good defensive backs. They're going to give Houston problems. And the Cardinals just that game. If I had to bet that game right now, I'd probably take the Saints. I'm not crazy about teams that were under 500 last year being almost a touchdown favorite going on the road to next year in the NFL. It's just one of those games. I'm not crazy about them, but I understand exactly why you started because the New Orleans offense is not that good. I could see that it would be one of those weird games in the NFL. You always get that one or two games every week. You're thinking, what? And I think that may be one of those games.
Yeah, listen, I really hope the Cardinals don't lay a turd this week because I have them as my survivor pick.
Oh, dear.
So I'm really hoping Arizona can, scathe by and, land me another week. I mean, Spencer Rattler 0-6 in his start. So I think you just trust the fact that he's just not a good quarterback and you have to start the Cardinals. I mean, the Cardinals make good moves on the defensive side of the ball this offseason. So I like what they're doing. The Rams, I already talked about them. Great matchup against a weak offensive line for the Texans. Very good pass rushers there. Listen, the biggest thing why I'm all about streaming defenses is because like the Bills and the Ravens matchups this week. Yeah. Playing those defenses alone could lose you your week just because both of them are going against each other. Two high-powered offenses, two MVP candidates. Like, it is a brutal matchup for both of them, and regardless of if they perform well, I would rather take my chances on streaming a defense versus playing them against one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. Do you agree with that strategy?
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I don't see this game being a blowout like it was last year. I know when Henry ripped off that 70-yarder, and you just seemed like the Bills were deflated after that. But this game's in Buffalo, so they get their revenge on that part of it. Still two elite quarterbacks. I mean, those guys can have a 35-point week in fantasy like it's nothing, then both teams score 30 points, and it'd be a great game to watch. So you don't want to play defenses of that. But sometimes when you get those high-scoring games, the ball's going in the air a lot more, so there's chances for interceptions, more sacks and stuff. But I wouldn't start them this week just because it's one of those games that could be a 35-33 game, and both teams' offenses just go nuts.
Yeah, 100%. Some kickers you need to know about. Obviously, kickers are very randomly based, but Chase McLaughlin, Will Lutz, two guys that I absolutely love their matchups this week. And then kickers that I am sitting, Jake Moody, Cairo Santos, both guys that, look like they're in for a little bit of a rough matchup this week. Danny, are there any other guys that we haven't mentioned on that list that you're taking a look as must-start players this week?
One guy I mentioned in the Twitter force and stuff there, Kayshon Boutte. I mean, he's not a guy you would start if you start in 2 wide receivers and one flex guy. But if you're in one of those leagues where you're a 14-team league and you're starting 3 flex, he's that guy you can put your 3rd flex, could produce for you. Down the stretch last year, I think it was the last 8 weeks, he had over 6 targets in 7 of the 8 weeks. So May has some trust in him at least and stuff like that. And I know they got Diggs, so that's going to probably take away from stuff. And they like to throw Henry down the goal line. But if he feels like he needs to be looking for somebody, Boutte may be that guy, and maybe a guy that can score you 10, 12 points and win you the week.
Listen, I think that's a crazy pull. I think that's great analysis right there. I love that. I'm taking a look in Houston a little bit with Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins. Obviously, with Christian Kirk out, I think we get action from both these rookies this week. I'm excited to see what they can do. I'm not super high on the matchup against the Rams, but I am excited to see what these rookies can do. And if you're in a situation, like you mentioned, 14-team league like we are in the Blitz Fantasy League, I'm throwing Jaden Higgins in my lineup, and I'm saying, hey, what can this guy do for me? Can he go win me a
10
week?
points?
Listen, I mean, in deep leagues, those guys are not bad options for sure. As far as other must-start players, do you have anybody else that we haven't talked about?
Off the top of my head, hold on a second here. Let me scroll the screen back real quick.
I guess while you're doing that, I can talk about one more.
Yeah, go ahead.
I absolutely love the Arizona Cardinals defense. Saints options are not good. You have to start Alvin Kamara though with confidence this week.
Yes, I think so. Yeah,
has been an absolute superstar in fantasy football over his career. Spencer Rattler is going to dump the ball down to this guy like it's nobody's business. And, Kamara might finish with 40 rushing yards, but if he has 8 catches in a PPR format, that's a great week for him. And I think that's what we're going to see out of Alvin Kamara. He's not going to be flashy. It's not going to be good, but he's going to have the volume in the passing game to be a consistent option on a weekly basis. So despite our hesitations about, the Saints and, the Arizona Cardinals ready to go, Alvin Kamara is a guy that you need to lock into your lineups. Danny, what are your other options here for us?
Go running back. I think Jonathan Taylor needs to be started. I mean, he's a must start no matter what, but I think he's one of those guys that could be have a huge weekend going against the Miami defense. I mean, their front seven's a lot better than what it was, and they're probably the weaknesses on the backside. But the thing is, though, Taylor's one of those guys. He gets through that front 7, he's gone. Nobody's going to tackle him in the backfield. He's already got the speed. He's gone. He'll rip off 70-yarders like it's nothing. Wide receiver-wise, Drake London, just because that game environment. Guys are hurt right now. Mooney may not play. So he may be like it was at the end of last season where he was the guy that Penix was throwing to, and he threw to him a lot. So he could have a huge game as well.
Yeah, 100%. DG's got a question. DG is one of our blitz goats, absolute dog. Brett Strange or Hunter Henry. This is a tough one, but I'm leaning Hunter Henry. We talked about Henry a little bit ago. Henry is going to have that target share with Drake May. Drake May targeted tight ends 32% of the time when he was a full-time starter. Henry himself hovered around a 20% target share with him. Raiders allowed the 3rd most points to tight ends overall. I think you got to trust Hunter Henry this week. I think it's a great matchup for him. I love Brenton Strange, especially in late rounds, snagging him up. Really good player. We'll see what happens, but I think Hunter Henry is the play in your first week as you try and go get the W. What's interesting, too, about the Falcons and taking a look at them, I think that, this week is a chance to make a statement for them, especially against the Bucs, who've won the division over the past few years, right? Is Michael Penix going to be ready to take that next leap? Drake London, I think, is going to be in for a monster week. Bijan Robinson going to be in for a good week. And Michael Penix Jr. show up ready for the test and a potential shootout against the Bucs. We'll see what happens. I think both defenses definitely have their concerns for sure. Are there any must-sit players that you are absolutely avoiding no matter what in your lineup?
Must-sit players I'm avoiding on that part. I mean, it's hard really to say that because you got to start the guys. I mean, Justin Jefferson doesn't play well against the Bears. He's still Justin Jefferson. You have to play him. So it's really hard to say there's must-sit guys. But guys you're going to start no matter what anyway because you have to, because what the upside is, what they can do in one game. And they can take one catch to the house and 13 points could win you the week, even if it is a bad week for them. But, yeah, Jefferson's one of those guys kind of keep an eye on. I mean, he's been hurt a little bit all preseason, and he has struggled against the Bears. So he may struggle this first game, so don't get too upset if he comes out and has 3 catches for 20 yards, and why did I draft him as a 5th pick or
He's a
3rd
good
pick?
buy low candidate, like AJ Brown is right now. Very good. Listen, like, all right, so here's kind of what I'm thinking. Like, first week, and this happens every year. First week is the biggest panic week in fantasy football out of all of them, right? You go and target AJ Brown, you go and target Devonta Smith, right? You go and target George Pickens, 3 guys. You sell high on Javonte Williams. You're honestly, I wouldn't hate selling high on Justin Herbert. I wouldn't hate selling high on like a Keenan Allen or Quentin Johnson. Yeah, I wouldn't hate that. I think on the Chiefs side of things, I honestly Travis Kelce a buy low candidate.
Yeah.
I mean, that's about as tough of a matchup you're going to get with Derwin James on you.
Yeah.
And actually, I think he looked faster last night. I don't know about you.
Oh,
but
yeah,
actually,
he did.
and last year on that ball that he scored a touchdown on, he's getting
He had caught. He'd been caught.
He's getting caught at the 10, but the wedding weight's shredded, and now he can score on a play like that. But yeah, I think there's
one. Yeah, get back to Kansas City too. With Worthy being hurt now, and they seemed like they still couldn't run the ball last night. They tried everybody last night. I mean, I don't think Smith got any carries, but he played a good bit as well too. But they tried neither one of them really excelled, so they may have to pass the ball a lot more this year anyway. But it'll be interesting since if Worthy's out for extended time, hopefully, worst case scenario, he broke his collarbone, and they just haven't said anything yet. But the best case scenario, he separated his shoulder or has an AC joint issue. The AC joint issue he can play depending on pain and if he gets a shot or not in the cortisone shot before the game or something like that. But the separated shoulder, it may be like a 1 week off and just how he responds to the therapy on that part of it. But yeah, it's one of those situations where that game reminded me so much of the Super Bowl last night that they just could not run the ball. I mean, and Philly's a whole different team of stopping the run, but the Chargers kind of dominated the line, so this kind of controlled the game in the first half. And I don't know if Worthy getting hurt was the difference because they kind of set up plays around him and him not being in the game. It took them a whole half to figure something out.
Yeah, I think their whole game script went out the window, which I think, definitely kind of screwed them over. I mean, their whole game script was built around Xavier Worthy. So as soon as he went down, you basically lost your first 4 drives of the game, which is unfortunate. But last night, this is a stat I was going to say. They threw the ball 39 times total. Patrick Mahomes had 6 scrambles, and then Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt only combined for 10 carries. That's malpractice by Andy Reid, right? You got to run the ball more. You at least got to show it, and it, will ease up a defense. Pacheco actually averaged 5 yards per carry.
It's not bad. Coming back from his injury,
that'll play. Kareem Hunt 5 for 16. Like, they need to absolutely get the run more involved because that they abandoned it. Like every time you see the Chiefs lose the game, it's because they abandon the run, and the offense stutters because they abandon the run. Mm-hmm. They need to commit to the run. I think Pacheco and Hunt long term, solid options. And I broke down the snaps today. Pacheco played a majority of the snaps, but Kareem Hunt dominated on short yardage and 3rd down snaps. So Kareem Hunt's going to have some viability this year. They just need to run the ball more, and it's something they didn't even do last week. So it's definitely concerning. I think Andy Reid sometimes gets stubborn because he knows he has Patrick Mahomes back there and he wants to throw. But they need to run the ball more. And even being down 10 in the first quarter is not enough to completely abandon the run. Vinny the Vet's checking in here. Morning, everyone. Chiefs have me hungover this morning. Completely understandable. They abandoned the run. Yep. Yeah. 100%. Definitely absolutely brutal what we kind of witnessed last night in terms of a game plan thing on both sides. I mean, Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo are 2 of the best of all time, right? And they had brutal game plans yesterday. It goes to show you what the NFL is like. It's a week-to-week business.
Exactly.
And that's why you can't buy too high or too low into players and their stocks in week 1 is what I keep alluding to here on this ending of our show. But I think the fact that you go through and take a look at these weekend slate of games too, I think like matchups like, I think the Browns, like a guy like Dylan Sampson or Jerome Ford can have a big game this week. We know Quinshad Judkins is coming back. Those are some buy or sell high candidates for me. Yep. Are there any players you're taking a look at that you could buy low, sell high? I know we talked about Justin Jefferson a little bit ago. Are there any players on the top of your mind?
Maybe they'll buy low like a Mason Taylor right now because you don't know what their passing offense is going to be. I mean, and it's not a good matchup going against the Steelers, so he may not have the best of game where I drafted him late, so I want to drop him. If somebody drops him, pick him up. He's going to be their number 2 or number 3 guy in that offense. Buy high guys, or sell high guys. we'll kind of have to wait and see how the weekend goes. There's always going to be a Sammy Watkins that has 5 catches, 120 yards, and 3 touchdowns, and people will be able to sell him right off the bat. So, and especially with injuries. I mean, I know my one league, as soon as Xavier Worthy got hurt, Hollywood Brown was not drafted. He was picked up immediately. Before he even had the game last night, he was picked up when Xavier got hurt. So it's one of those situations.
Wait, your league allowed that?
Yes. Yes, it's one of my home leagues I've played in for over 10 years. I mean, it's one of those ones, as long as we allow 3 pickups a week. If you have one of those pickups and you have a guy on your bench you have not started or his game has not played, you can pick up for somebody like that. So
that's crazy. You guys got to get that thing changed.
No, well, we're only allowed 3. So as the season goes on, you're going to have guys get hurt like crazy, and you're picking up 2-3 guys, and somebody else gets hurt by the end of the week, and you're like, okay, I have no more pickups. So what am I going to do? It's fun on that part of it, and it's one of those ones too. It's one of those leagues too where we draft them at. It's kind of how we try to do with our Blitz league. They move up 2 spots every year. So okay, is it a guy I want to drop that I kind of want to wait and see, or it's just a guy I know I can drop and don't worry about it too? So you run into that too as well.
Yeah, 100%. Paul's got another question. Contender Dynasty League, I need a running back. Would you trade Puka to get Judkins and Kittle? Probably not.
No.
I think with Puka, you could probably get a high-end RB2 and Kittle for that type of a package if that's what you're looking at. I think Judkins is still probably 4 weeks away from dominating, the Browns backfield and snaps. And I think that him dominating this year is probably like 60% maxed. Dylan Sampson's going to be utilized in this offense, and he's going to be their third down back, it seems like, for sure. Yeah. So I think if you're chasing, a running back you need now, especially for a guy like Puka, who, I think is probably a little bit lower in terms of value considering Stafford's back injury. I think you kind of wait to see what happens with Puka. If he has a monster week and you want to try to sell him, you go and get a higher end RB2, and then you try to package him with Kittle if you're trying to get that tight end, or you get a high end RB2, high end wide receiver 2 for Puka. Because if you walk away with like a Judkins, for example, you're kind of missing the upside of having a player like Puka with a guy like Judkins, who's probably going to be capped just based on how the utilization will be over the next 4 weeks and his long-term outlook with Dylan Sampson aside. Do you agree with that?
I agree with that. Yeah. It's just people don't understand that the NFL is a different monster than college football. Until guys get into OTAs or rookie camps, start going against other quality NFL guys, you never know what these rookies are going to do. And I think the same. Judkins has got talent, but it's the idea he hasn't practiced against these guys yet. What can he do and what can he figure out quickly in order to be successful in the NFL?
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting for sure. Well, guys, really appreciate you guys tuning into our first fantasy Q&A video for the 2025 NFL season. We will have the full start and sit questions on Twitter tomorrow on my socials, so make sure you guys tune into that if you need start and sit advice before that. If not, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button or follow button, whether the platform you are on. Me and Danny will catch you guys next time here on Blitz Sports Media.
Later, gang.